24th. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor Edwards, do you have our flag? Excellent, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice.
Justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you like to call the roll, please?
Councilor Edwards,
Present.
Councilor Hilton,
Present.
Councilor Driggs,
Present.
Councilor DiMederos, and Councilor Cook,
Present.
Councilor Perry, and Councilor Clark are absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we'll start with the consent agenda. Item A, approval of town council minutes. The minutes of July 23rd, the special meeting, July 27th, regular session, July 27th, executive session, and finally August 5th, special meeting. Item B, acknowledge receipt of minutes from boards, commissions, and committees. There is one set of minutes from the Board of Canvassers. Item C, acknowledge receipt of reports. First, the police and fire department overtime reports for July 2020. Second, the department monthly reports for July 2020. And third, Jennifer Siciliano, town planner and administrative officer, report of activities of the planning department and the planning board for July 2020. Item D, acknowledge receipt of correspondence. First, the town of Portsmouth resolution opposing the transfer of the Rhode Island Turnpike and Bridge Authority Revenue and Management Authority to the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. Second, a resolution from the town of Portsmouth recognizing and honoring African American history in Rhode Island and urging the adoption of African American education in Rhode Island K-12 schools starting in the 2021-2022 academic year. Third, the town of Jamestown, a resolution in support of urging the state of Rhode Island to allocate at least 10% of its $1.5 billion in federal CARES Act funds to establish a grant program for small businesses impacted by COVID-19. Fourth, the town of Jamestown, a resolution requesting support of the Rhode Island Turnpike. Fifth, the town of North Smithfield, a resolution of the North Smithfield Town Council urging an emergency exemption in the computation of the maintenance of effort requirements established by RIGL 16-7-3. Number 6, the town of North Smithfield, a resolution of the North Smithfield School Committee to amend Article 1. Item 7, the town of North Smithfield, a resolution of the North Smithfield Town Council urging the continued appropriate state and local revenue education.
Wow.
And finally, item E, the approval of tax assessor abatements. Would any councilor like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Councilor Driggs?
4A1, 2, 4, and then the town of Smithfield emergency exemption from MOE.
4A1.
I can't hear, there's something loud.
Denise, I think your microphone's doing its thing again. I'm sorry, 4A1.
A1, A2, and A4, and then the town of Smithfield MOE effort exemption. I have a question. So
Which one is that?
I don't have, how much, what is it?
E5.
Okay. In that case, John, do you have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda minus 4A, 1, 2, 4, and D5.
Second.
And Denise seconds. Councilor Driggs?
Yes.
Councilor Cook?
Yes.
Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor DiMederos?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes. Okay, Councilor Driggs, 4A1.
So 4A1, 2, and 4 are, I don't know if it's appropriate. It just sort of didn't make sense. At 4A1, it ends in the members present right at the beginning. It's sort of not clear from that first sentence if anyone was absent or who was absent the way it's written. I really can't tell, so I just think it should be clarified. And then the number 2, the last sentence on page 4 ends with the word best. I mean, it should be best, but it says pest, and that just doesn't make sense in the sentence. And finally, under 4, page 2, the first full paragraph ends with the word "and," but then there's nothing after it. So those 3 things I wanted to just address, and I don't know if it's appropriate to do it in this forum, but they just seemed like they should be cleaned up. And then the D5, or I think it was, Town of North Smithfield, emergency exemption for maintenance of effort. I guess I don't know, again, if this is the appropriate place to raise this, but I know this is something we questioned the town administrator maybe addressing for Tiverton, and it sounds like the town of Smithfield has done it. And I just sort of wondered if we have ever got to that point where we also put some kind of a request for a waiver in. Those are my comments.
Madam Clerk, do you think on A1 you could add a period in there just to separate who is present and who is absent?
Well,
And then A2 was the sentence that there was this,
Last sentence on page 4, the word pest is in there.
Yeah,
I
I
think
saw
it should
that.
be bet. I think it should be bet.
yes, it's best practices instead of
Yes.
best practices.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Sorry,
It's pretty funny, I
it's
thought.
the English major in me. And then on A4, under Counselor Cook's thing, page 2, the first full paragraph, it ends with the word "and," but then there's nothing after that word. So either delete "and" or put what should be there.
Madam Clerk could make those changes for us.
Yes, if anything looks like on 4, I don't have them in front of me. I forgot my packet at work. I'm doing it on my phone. But if it needs to come back, I'll bring it back. But it looks like the first 2 should be simple enough to amend.
Okay, thank you.
To approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I move.
Second.
Is there a second? There's a second. Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes,
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And then as far as the resolution goes, I guess, Chris, that would be a question for you.
So we did look into doing a maintenance of effort issue with the libraries, and the OLS will not entertain a request. You actually have to cut their budget first before they will do it. So what this resolution is, I believe, is more in line with asking the General Assembly for seeking relief, which every city and town has already done through the League of Cities and Towns. So it's kind of a convoluted process. We did entertain it. I did send the chair trustee of the library director, a memorandum about cutting it. Sending it to OLS for them to weigh in on it, and OLS weighed back saying they will not offer anything until you actually do cut their budget. So you have to cut it first.
Okay. Chris, are you saying that the League of City and Towns did put a waiver request in for the schools?
Yes, all the cities and towns are
okay.
waiting on it and asked for it for both the school and libraries.
Okay.
so they
That
did
should have been
both.
something a part of the state budget when they passed the 2021 budget. They're asking it to be an article within the budget.
Of the General Assembly.
Yes.
Okay. In that case, do I have a motion then to approve D5?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes,
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos, Denise,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. I don't believe we have any public comments. I don't have any received. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
I haven't received any. Jeannie, did you get any? No.
No, no public comments on the email.
Which then moves us to appointments and resignations, of which we have a number of appointments. We have 3 for the Harbor Commission, which is a 9-member board with 2-year terms. There are 5 vacancies, and we have 3 requests for reappointment. The first request for reappointment is from Bruce Cox of Sunset Drive. The second is Jason Claremont of 15 Carpenter Street, and the third is Gregory Banner of 59 Winnissimmet Drive, all requesting reappointment to expire July 15th, 2022. John?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to waive our policy regarding reappointments and appoint this evening for the Harbor Commission.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. I know that Nancy had your hand up. Was that discussion on something or?
Oh, I was going to make the same motion John did.
Okay. Denise?
Rich, I don't think we have to waive this because these
It's
are
just
reappointments and there's
yeah.
5 vacancies and they're not new appointments. So I don't think we need to waive it.
I don't either, but
We can just do this.
I think we can just do it.
Mike,
Mike is saying
Withdraw
yes.
my motion.
Okay, so John's withdrawing his motion. In that case, do I have a motion for reappointment for all 3? John?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Bruce Cox, Jason Claremont, and Gregory Banner to the Harbor Commission for terms to expire 7/15/2022.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Counselor Driggs?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos?
yes.
And I'm a yes. So thank you very much to those 3 gentlemen for volunteering and returning to the Harbor Commission. Second is another reappointment for the Zoning Board. That is a 5-member board with 5-year terms. There is 1 vacancy and 1 application only for reappointment. George L. Zabak of 63 Stony Hollow Road, requesting reappointment to expire July 15, 2025. John?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint George L. Zabek to the zoning board for a term to expire 7/15/2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
I have a question. Is there discussion at all?
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Isn't there another Bishop, Joel Bishop? Isn't he also applying for that?
No, I believe he's requesting
an alternate.
reappointment as an alternate.
Oh, so that comes separately? Okay,
They come separately.
okay, great.
So there's a motion. Did I have a second? Yes, I did. Counselor Driggs,
Yes,
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. So thank you to George again for volunteering. And then the zoning board for alternate positions, which is an annual appointment. And there are 2 applicants. I believe that both of those, Denise, you have a question?
Well, you can continue. I just wanted to speak up because it came to my attention that one of these applicants have been at very few zoning board meetings, actually 2 in the last year. And I don't think it's wrong if we ask for an attendance record to see if these people are actively participating.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. I do happen to know because I am the liaison to the zoning board that one of these alternates is a very regular attendee. The alternate positions are annual appointments. There have been no other applications for the zoning board, correct, Nancy, other than?
No.
And both of these members are existing, are the existing alternates on the zoning board. Denise?
Trish, I'm just gonna say it out loud, I guess. Jennifer Hilton, I do know, participates. If you look at Joel Bishop, what I understand, he's only been to 2 meetings. And if
My
they're not,
understanding, he's only missed 2.
are you sure he missed 2, or if he didn't, he only went to 2?
It's my understanding he's only missed 2.
Well, I feel uncomfortable voting for this unless I know whether or not he's participated more than 2 meetings.
John?
I have a question about the alternate position. Perhaps the solicitor can weigh in. Am I correct in my assumption that the alternates are only imperative if and when we have a member conflicted out on something? That's when the alternate would step in, or when a member is not present and they can't make a quorum?
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Right, but they still have to be there so that they understand the subjects, and
Oh, of
they-
course.
and they have to show, because no one knows if people are going to show up or not. So they have to be there in case someone doesn't. I just have a question. If we appoint members, I think it's an expectation they should go to the majority of the meetings. And like I said, it came to my attention that there's been a problem.
Denise, can I ask you, because I'm interested, because that was a question that I know was asked of Joel, how many meetings he had missed, and his answer was 2. So I don't, you're.
No.
is
That was when we
radically
were,
different.
that was when we were interviewing him.
No,
Then
no,
we
no, no,
appointed
no,
him.
this was since he had been appointed. How many this year? And he said he'd missed only 2.
So where was that asked of him? Because I wasn't aware of that.
Well,
No, really, Nancy, if you have that information, that would be viable. But I don't remember seeing him and asking him that question. And I don't think it's
I had
something.
the information because
Well-
I got an email where somebody had asked him, how many meetings can I ask? How many meetings have you missed? And he said 2. It wasn't to me, but it was forwarded.
Okay.
I just,
Hang on, Mike would let's let Mike
All right.
speak first.
all right, my hand is up. I know you can't see it.
Okay, I'll get to you right after Mike speaks on.
All I can tell you is that I just wanted to let the board be aware, the council be aware that the zoning board really hasn't met since March. We've only had 2 meetings before the pandemic, and then we just had a recent meeting, but we haven't really had that many meetings. So I can't really tell you the attendance records, but certainly if the council wants to appoint one alternate and get back on the information on another, that's up to the council. I can just tell you as a matter of practice, the zoning board has not met for a number of reasons. 1, because of the pandemic. 2, because there wasn't any pending applications.
Right, but since appointment, since last July, they did meet several months.
I don't have that information. I've only here
Because
since
at
March.
7:15, we appointed them. So I would imagine they met up until March. I don't know if they've met every month, but
I would doubt it,
I-
given their
I-
record.
I have something I'd like to say. If
Yes,
you're
Donna.
going to, if you're going to use that litmus test, then you need to do it with every single committee that you have, because many, many times there's no one showing up for the canvassing board and for many of the other committees. So to be starting this on Joel is very unfair considering the COVID problem and that they haven't met because frankly, there's nothing to meet about. So I know how you voted before. You didn't want him to be on it, and it's starting to show its ugly head here.
Donna,
really?
please,
Donna,
Donna,
really?
It is the truth. All of a sudden, you're after Joel.
I am not.
Look,
Donna, you are
gotta
out
look
of order.
everybody-
You are not
you gotta
supposed
look
to
at
question
everybody, not
another
just
member's
one person.
motives.
No,
Donna, you're
no,
out of order.
no,
Please
I'm not
refer-
out of order. I'm saying that if you're going to do it for one, you got to look at everyone's, how often they've gone to all of these meetings, every single
Right.
board, every single commission, not
I
just one.
absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And I think it should be our practice that when we appoint these people, that we should know whether or not they are participating in the meetings, if they're doing their due diligence, and if they're not, then we shouldn't appoint. I don't think it's just significant to this, but like I said, it was brought to my attention,
I'm
and I'm
sure it
just
was.
mentioning. Oh, Donna, get over it. Okay. This is-
Okay, all
Get
right.
over yourself, Denise.
All right, that's it.
Guys,
That's it. That's it.
Definitely to cause trouble.
Okay, Please.
I call it the kettle black, Donna.
Hold on, come on,
Hold
guys.
on.
You don't do it to the other committees.
All right, listen,
Okay.
can I just weigh in as a parliamentarian, please?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Let's try to get the issue on the agenda is whether or not these two individuals should be appointed as alternates for a one-year term. Very good points are raised about attendance and whatnot. Let's try to keep it to the facts. Let's not disparage other people's motives or whatever. And let's not let's not do name calling. Come on, we can get through this meeting. August, it's a hot summer night. Let's just get through it, and we can get through it as a professional council members, as the voters expect. Thank you.
So I would actually like to weigh in a little bit on attendance. Nancy Mello has her hand up. Nancy, did you want to say something?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a point that there is a boards and commission policy, and it is the job of the chair of the commission to notify the town administrator when attendance is a problem or when they've missed so many. It is actually, there's some language in that boards and commission policy.
Madam Clerk is correct. There is, although I will say this about the zoning board in particular, which is a, quasi judicial body. And there are time clocks involved in it. So you simply can't not render decisions because you don't have a quorum or you don't have, sitting members who can participate. So it is unlike some of the other boards and commissions where if a member's absent or they're not there, and as long as they've got a basic quorum, they can take a vote. At the zoning board, it is very important that the members who are appointed attempt to make as many meetings as they possibly can, especially because items are often continued. It may not be determined at the first meeting. So if you're an alternate and you're sitting, or you have to step in, it's important that you have been there through all of the testimony. And sometimes these people are in front of the zoning board 3 or 4 times. So the zoning board does have a different, it does have a different set of requirements regarding attendance. Chris has his hand up. I know that Nancy wants to say something.
I'm just letting you know, Mr. Bishop is here in the waiting room to speak. So you want me to bring him in?
Nancy?
Me?
Yes, you have your hand up.
Well, in reaction to Chris, yes, I think you should bring him in, but I have 2 reactions to what you just said, Patricia, and what Donna said. The first is, as we well know, that the zoning board has been very tardy about meeting certain times. That has historically kept things from happening because they didn't meet and they couldn't have a quorum. So I think to paint this picture that they are regularly meeting is erroneous. And secondly, I agree with Donna basically that I don't know why this is being singled out right now. I guess I have a question for Chris Cotta. Have you had any notification from the head of the zoning, that they've been concerned that he hasn't been there?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Okay, there it is.
I would ask us to speak to him then.
He's a, hang on, I'm just trying to get him. There you go. There you go, Mr. Bishop, you're unmuted.
All right, everybody can hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we have only had, I believe, 3 zoning board meetings this year. For one of those meetings, I did not attend because I was in Brazil. It was a planned vacation, so everybody knew. The second meeting that was early in the year, I actually didn't attend because I had a heart attack, and I didn't check in because I had a lot of health issues going on at the time. But we haven't met since then, and I've been regularly in touch with the rest of the board, and I haven't been participating or not attending is not accurate.
Trish.
Yes, Denise.
Joe, thanks for being here because you can answer the question, and I'm glad. You were appointed last July. Did you go to any meetings from July to January? Is that what you're referring as the year?
I've been to every meeting except for the 2 that I mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question then, because what I'm actually doing, because I can do this, is that I'm looking at the meetings that at least are posted on the Secretary of State's website. So according to this, and I'm just asking because it came up, so I just went and pulled this up. There was a meeting in, because you weren't appointed till July, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Bishop?
I don't know the date offhand. I'd have to look at my records.
Okay. Because it looks to me that there was a meeting in September that you didn't attend, a meeting in October that you did attend, a meeting in December that you attended, but you didn't attend the January or the February meeting. Does that sound correct?
I'm not sure about the September meeting. I know right after being appointed, I was, very, very excited, and I did attend all the meetings. So I'm not sure. January was a planned vacation, and again, February was due to my health.
And I'm just, the attendance that I'm seeing here, these are the actual meeting minutes that get, posted on the Secretary of State's website. And so so it looks to me that that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings that have been posted, and you've attended 2 of them. Does that sound about right?
That does not sound accurate to me. No, I attend the meetings every time they have them. I actually very much like attending the meetings. With COVID, things have been a little crazy. We had a long discussion over email about whether we were going to do them by Zoom, and we actually did have one meeting by Zoom, and I think we've decided that we want to actually do the next one in person. But no, I have certainly attended more than 2 meetings. Yeah, I think.
Well,
I think out of the 5, probably
I will tell you,
3.
Mr. Bishop, though, or for the solicitor, what's a little problematic are these are the voted adopted minutes that are posted on the Secretary of State's website with the attendance records. So it alarms me that there's a discrepancy between your attendance and what seems to be posted. Denise, you have your hand up.
So I just want to say that that's what was brought to my attention. And if that's incorrect, I apologize, but documentation of these minutes did show that he only went to 2. As I said, there was no, and that's what was brought to my attention. If the documentation is wrong, it is concerning, and somebody needs to correct the minutes if they're wrong. And I apologize, Joel, if they are wrong. But what I stated before, that you only went to 2 is documented. You only went to 2. So
Is the Zoom meeting documented?
Yes, the minutes is submitted and they're on the Secretary of State's
The
website.
Zoom meeting one?
Yes, any minutes.
Because Patricia just mentioned 5. And
I don't, I just did this, I just very quickly, I don't know if the Zoom
I don't know
meeting
if it
has
was
been,
quickly.
if those minutes have been approved yet by the board and are posted. I don't know that they have been, so there may well have been another meeting where the minutes haven't been approved. They're not posted till they're approved. I think that I think that what the council needs to decide is whether or not it wants to go forward with one or both reappointments. Do we feel we need more clarification on one? I will leave it to the council.
I move we go forward. I think I'm glad Mr. Bishop came and spoke. The two he missed were totally understandable. He seems very willing and excited about continuing, and I think we need to appoint both of them.
Well, is anyone wanting to make a motion on these reappointments?
Yep.
Counselor Edwards.
Yep.
Yeah, I just,
Since I sense some dissent, I'll make a motion to appoint Jennifer Hilton for reappointment to expire 7/15/2021 as a zoning board alternate.
Is there a second to that motion?
point of order, Madam President. I think I just made a motion to reappoint both of them.
I know you said you thought we should go forward. You didn't.
I said
actually
I made a motion to appoint both of them, and nobody.
I'm sorry, it wasn't, it didn't appear to be in motion format. You said, I think we should go forward, but I didn't take that as a motion. It wasn't.
Let me step in. You can vote on these one at a time. There's no, you're still gonna get the vote on each one, so just vote on them one at a time. And any member has a right to separate an issue, and this is a separation of an issue, so vote on them one at a time.
So I have a motion to reappoint Jennifer Hilton. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay.
Discussion, do we know if she's missed any meetings?
I can just tell you right now from my very quick perusal of the minutes that she's been at every meeting that is listed in the minutes. I just read through all of them really quickly on the Secretary of State's website.
I'm pretty sure she missed at least one. And I was there for that day.
Okay, Mr. Bishop, we have a motion and a second on a reappointment of Jennifer Hilton. Counselor Driggs?
I am really in a quandary. I will say yes, because I don't think we should use whether somebody missed as a reason.
Counselor Cook?
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I don't think this is a good way to go. Plus the fact that it wasn't done properly, and it seems like it was very well planned to attack
Can I
Mr.
just-
Bishop.
Uh,
And
Counselor-
I will say it's okay. It's very well planned, Michael. I mean,
Hold on,
really.
hold on. I just want, listen, I'm
They
trying to.
didn't use,
everybody-
they didn't go by policy and get in touch
Donna.
with Mr. Carter. They go into D. Maderis, and I'm done.
Don,
I'm gonna
okay.
abstain.
No, thank you. All I want to just say this, this is good debate. You can have this debate when you're discussing these appointments, but it's not appropriate to have a debate when there's a roll call. It's either a yes or no vote and we move on. And your opportunity to comment on that is when you're debating it, whether the appointment should go forward or not. But once the roll call begins, the rules are very clear. Robert's rule is a yes or no vote. So let's not have any commentary. The commentary should happen before the vote. And I'm not trying to prevent anyone from commenting. It's your right as a council member to do so. But we're never going to get through a roll call if we keep on having these running discussions. So
Am I allowed to abstain, change my vote to abstain?
you could after the vote.
Can I say something? Can I amend the?
I think you already
We're
said
going to
too much.
complete the roll call. We're going to complete the roll call on a yes or no vote. And then you can discuss after that. But we're in the middle of a roll call. Robert's rules of order is clear. When you're in the middle of a roll call, the only appropriate thing is a yes or no vote.
So, Mike, Counselor Driggs wants to change her vote. So,
She can change the vote after the vote. Or she can change it now. If you want to change it now, go ahead.
Abstain.
Thank you.
and Counselor Cook is abstaining. Is that correct?
I am, because we don't know Jennifer's.
Donna, did the solicitor just explain the rules to you? Please abide by them. Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos, and I am also a yes. So the motion carries. And
I didn't miss Councilman, you were muted when we did this.
Yes.
Thank you.
okay, so the motion carries, and Jennifer Hilton is reappointed. Which brings us to the second candidate, which is Joel Bishop. Counselor DiMederos.
I make a motion to appoint Joel Bishop to the zoning board. Reappointment expires 7/15/21.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Counselor Driggs.
Well,
Yes.
let's have a discussion if we need a discussion. Now's the time for having the discussion.
Madam President,
Yes, John.
perhaps we can make a note with quasi judicial boards for going forward. It would be nice to have, if attendance is going to be important to the boards, it would be nice to know in advance if there are attendance issues before we get to a vote.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion passes. Okay. On to the Recycling and Landfill Committee, which is,
Thank you very much.
thank you, which is a 5-member board with 3-year terms. There are 3 vacancies. There is 1 request for reappointment. Steve Rice of 201 Bridal Way. Yes, John.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Stephen Rice to the Landfill Recycling Committee for an appointment to expire 4/15/2023.
Second.
There's a second. Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. And finally, the Conservation Commission, which is a 7-member board, 3-year terms. There are 2 vacancies and 1 request for reappointment. Brenda Mottram of 88 Barn Swallow Drive. Counselor Edwards?
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Brenda Mottram to the Conservation Commission for a term to expire 4/15/2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Counselor Driggs?
Yes.
Counselor Cook?
Yes.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos? Unmute Denise.
She's protecting us from the microphone.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
know.
do.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and I'm a yes. So congratulations and thank you to all of our reappointments. Which brings us to general business. And I think originally we were going to have Acting Chief Reimels here for the proposed EMA flu clinic, but I don't believe he's going to be in attendance. So the town administrator is going to handle this, and I'm just going to turn a light on in my office because it's getting a little dark here.
I'll give you a brief update. And Bruce is trying to get some information from EMA. They've reached out to all EMA directors around the state to see if the towns would consider having a flu clinic somewhere in their communities. Obviously, it would be in conjunction with appropriate social distancing and all the COVID requirements. That they think it's very, very important to try to get as many people as possible to get the regular flu shot this year if possible. And having clinics within your own communities would be a viable opportunity. We obviously wanted to run this by the town council before, we went ahead and said yes, but, Bruce, I will say that Bruce is tied up on a pretty tough fire this evening in town. And he could not make the meeting tonight. So I just wanted to run it by you. If you had any concerns, if you have some issues with it, and if we could try to address them before we try to schedule this. It'll be sometime in the next couple of months. We don't have a lot of the details at the moment, but we did want to get it in front of you to make sure that we're on board with trying to do something on behalf of the community, if at all possible.
I just have a question, Chris.
Sure.
This is the emergency medical setup, and I'm just wondering, we don't usually do that for the flu, though. I could see it with the COVID, but.
We don't, but they are very interested in trying to get as many people as possible to get the flu shot this year and make it easily accessible. A lot of the doctor's offices are going to be jammed and not, they won't be able to get people in. So trying to have clinics would be a lot of them are not taking people. They're doing phone calls
You can get them anywhere, Chris. You can go to CVS, you can go to Walmart. I mean, it's like
Right.
they're everywhere for free.
Right.
and I believe it'll still be free, but I think they're just trying to mitigate by having as many of these as they can.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think it's a splendid idea, and I think that if we can make it more convenient for our citizens, especially our older citizens, and that they could go to a clinic right here in town with, our local fire department as well as the volunteers to get their flu shot, I think that we probably increase participation, and I think it's a great idea. John?
The only thing I would add is that in the event that we wind up with a COVID vaccine before the flu clinic occurs. I mean, it's a great way to pivot into that, and if we've already got the infrastructure in place. So I think it's a great idea, and I want to thank Acting Chief Reimels for coming up with it.
Okay.
So it sounds like the council generally thinks this is a very good idea and encourages Chief Reimels to keep moving forward with it. So
Okay.
thank you,
I'll
Chris.
talk to him tomorrow.
Okay. Item B, the town administrator update regarding the State Traffic Commission relative to the Nanaquacket Bridge fishing restriction request.
So I'll give you a little brief. I did give you some memos from both Chief Jones and myself, and there has been some correspondence from members of the community, and I know the Harbor Commission has also weighed in on the original hearing. It was supposed to have been 2 weeks ago, was postponed because they couldn't get a quorum. So it will be held, and I still don't have the date, but I believe it's going to be the 26th, but I'll confirm that. Our issue really is just trying to mitigate any kind of liability on behalf of the town. There are some, significant issues going on with multiple uses on that very small bridge. We are obviously not trying to stop people from fishing because there's plenty of access on the shore there. But because this is a state road and state infrastructure, we believe it's important that they become aware of the very same issues that we've become aware of. It is a pretty dangerous situation, and the issue is it's not all the time. I will say in the last 2 weeks, there have been many times I've gone by and there's been nobody on the bridge. It is mostly on the weekends. It's mostly and we truly believe it may be related more to COVID, as there are very few recreational places for people to go. But when they stop putting families on the bridge and they're on lawn chairs and coolers and kids running around, it becomes a pretty daunting issue. So we want to get this issue in front of the State Traffic Commission to see if they'll do something about it. Maybe they won't limit fishing, but it was our idea that it was important enough to get it before them and let them weigh in on it and let them decide. Maybe they'll come up with some suggestions the Harbor Commission came up with, whether or not they put crosswalks and signage or other issues. So I'm just trying to relieve any kind of liability. At least nobody can say that we haven't tried to do something about it.
My hand's up.
Sure.
Yes, Donna.
Yeah, I just I have two things to say. First, I just want to ask, what does the interlocal trust say about the town's liability of doing nothing? I know it's a state road, but what if a child gets run over because we did know and we did nothing? I mean, isn't that how it goes? You had knowledge.
It is. I didn't want to put it before the interlocal trust until I weighed in with the State Traffic Commission, because then that would be my next line used to how do we limit our exposure for our insured.
Right. And I mean, heaven forbid, I'm just going to, I walk a lot over the bridge. I do a lot of walking, and I'll just say what I've seen in the short time. I used to bring a bag with me and I'd pick up all of the, I guess, fishing line. I mean, I'd have a whole bag full of it, and it kills birds. And we have many water birds, not loons, but the fishing birds, the seagulls, and they all get caught up in it. So that's one thing. And the trash. And I don't want to stop anyone either. I mean, it's a nice afternoon, enjoying the fresh air. The problem is when I'm walking, all of a sudden I have to walk in the street because I don't have any access to the sidewalk. Now I'm putting myself in the street, and it's a narrow street. The one thing I ran into, there was about 10 young people, teenagers of all different ages, and they were having a really good time. I didn't see them jump off the bridge, but they look wet. Okay, I'll just say that. The thing is that all of a sudden they decided to have a foot race in the middle of the street. So I'm like, well, that's not a good idea. I kept my mouth shut, and all of a sudden I see a car coming around the corner going pretty fast. Now, he couldn't see the kids, but they're having their foot race because that's what kids do, right? And all I did is I just was like, oh my God, slow down with my hands, and he's probably, and then I think he realized what he was running into. But those kids were all in the street having a foot race. So it can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Councilor Driggs?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to it. I also do a lot of walking around there. And frankly, when I read the backup to this discussion tonight, I have often thought, as I found myself having to walk on the street to get by them, but people are doing this cast
Yeah.
with their lines. There's part of me that thought, wow, that that's going to snare me. And I was really actually surprised to hear how much damage has been caused by these fishing lines. So I think it really does. Something needs to be done.
So, oh, I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
I just would offer a suggestion, and I think the goal is not to prevent people access to the water. It's not to prevent people from fishing, right? It's very clear in the backup that came forward here, and that's not something that I would ever support. But what I would tell you is that I think what we have here is an enforcement problem by the state on a state road, and I've noticed it myself. From what I understand, the municipality has put a trash barrel down there, and it has become our responsibility to maintain the trash barrel. That's wholly unacceptable. This is a state problem. RIDOT should be the one taking care of the trash on the bridge. If they want a trash barrel there, they should be the ones who pick it up. And the same goes with enforcement. I know we have in this town, we have 3 DEM officers in the pickup trucks, and I see them because they park down the street from me at Sepauwett. They see them, they go down to Grinnell's, and they'll go down to Fogland. But I think a lot of the issues could be rectified if all they did was park a Rhode Island DEM officer down there on the bridge and let the state handle enforcement. It's a very straightforward solution to me. I don't know why Rydam just doesn't put a body there. And, once you do that, 2, 3, 4 weekends in a row, the problem will start to resolve itself because people will know they can't go and they can't litter. They can't be running around on the road because, again, the Rhode Island DEM officers are state police, so they have enforcement power. And then most importantly, DEM, if this is a hot fishing spot, should be there anyways because it is their job to make sure that people aren't taking undersized fish. And so the real question that I have is what the heck is Rhode Island DEM doing if we have a hub for fishing and yet none of their enforcement officers are ever to be found when it is in use? So I would strongly encourage the administrator to reach out to Rydam and find out what they're doing and when they're going to put a body there and how often, because that'll solve a lot of the problems without us needing to go before the Rhode Island Traffic Tribunal and ask them to remove people from the bridge.
Okay.
No, I've never seen a DEM truck. I've never seen anyone there ever.
Well,
That's it.
Chris is going to keep us posted after
Yeah.
this meeting with RIDOT, so I'm sure we'll get an update on this fairly soon.
Okay, and I will reach out to DEM as well. It is an issue. We do recognize it's a multi-part issue. And it's also a CRMC issue as well, because they're the ones who gave the access to, and it's waterfront access. We're not trying to mitigate, to stop people from accessing the waterfront, believe me, there are too many competing sources of entertainment. Whether it's fishing, jumping in. I've been by the other kids jumping off in the water too. It is what it is. But it's also a very narrow, cars are very heavy today that, we just think it's a disaster waiting to happen. So it needs to be put before the appropriate authorities. And we're going through that deliberative process now. So we will reach to all of them before we're done. So, because it really shouldn't be totally on the town of Tiverton's back to manage this particular venue. So we'll keep you posted on where we're headed with it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Item C, the town administrator update regarding the auditor selection.
Okay, so we did go out to bid. The bids went out and they came in appropriately. And we did evaluate them. It took a little bit to get them finally evaluated. And we needed the state auditor general to weigh in on the ultimate selection. The auditor general, Dennis Hoyle, did approve our selection of the auditor, and and the auditors actually did send me a copy of an engagement letter last Friday, which we did get in the package. So we'd like to bless this and move it forward. So if it takes a ratification of the council to do this, I wasn't really sure what the procedure was, other than getting it before you again after the bids have come in.
We just want to ask the solicitor, since the council does need to ratify this, but it's not listed for a vote on the agenda, do we need to put this on the agenda for a vote to ratify the contract?
Yes.
We do. So is your suggestion that we put it on a future agenda, or?
I think
Yeah, I mean, we can. I mean, I don't know how critical your timing is, Chris, but we,
they still have some interviews, pre-interviews to do, so it could go on the next council agenda. It, you know, and they've already started. They've come in and met with me. They need to meet with the treasurer. I know they're going to go over and speak to the school department as well. So they have some pre-interviews to do before we actually fully get engaged, but having the engagement letter, we can now put on the next council agenda to get it ratified.
Okay. Denise?
You're muted, Denise.
Denise, John, where's your sign?
I don't know, John, where's your sign?
In the office move, it got thrown in the trash.
I'm
Oh.
doing it on
Heading outside.
Okay, now you're here, Denise.
I'm doing it. I'm muting myself on purpose because I'm hearing you guys are hearing Velcro again. But Chris, I don't know if I missed this, but did the school committee weigh in on this decision because they asked that they did?
Yes, I actually had Superintendent Sanciano as one of the review members. So
Okay.
it was Nancy Mello, myself, and Dr. Sancioni were actually the committee that reviewed the submissions.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Triggs?
This is the same group that has been the auditor in the past, right?
It is.
And I didn't have the prior letter, but I was looking through their letter of engagement that was in our package. Is it pretty much mimic what the other letters of engagement?
Yes, it is. It is
No changes in what they're
No.
proposing to do?
No.
Okay, all right,
it's pretty
thank you.
pretty standard.
Thank you.
So it sounds like the next step is to actually place the letter of engagement on for a vote at the next council meeting,
Yes.
correct? Okay. In that case, Madam Clerk, will you make a note of that to put this on the next council meeting for a vote?
I will.
Excellent, thank you. Item D, Tax Assessor Dave Robert, authorization to seek RFP for appraisal of Tiverton Power, Inc., the power plant located at 304 Progress Road, Plat 108 and Lot 105.
I believe this is Dave now. Dave, are you at 6,700?
What?
There's a phone call here from town.
Yeah,
No.
I think that's Dave Roberts.
Yeah, is this you, Dave? It's not on me. There it goes. Dave?
Sorry about that. Here I am.
Dave, you should have just walked into Chris's office.
Good.
It's so far away.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were here. It's okay.
I am here.
He's always working.
So your RFP is up, Dave. There hasn't been any discussion or anything yet. We're just getting you on.
Okay, yes. So this is an RFP to go out to bid for their appraisal of the power plant. This is separate from any type of revaluation bid. So we want to make sure that we get the best possible candidates to appraise this important piece of property.
I agree.
Can I ask a question of Mr. Roberts?
Yes, go ahead.
Dave, Nancy Driggs, how often is this appraisal done and what is the purpose of it?
Okay, so we've never appraised the power plant. We were just ending the life of a 20-year pilot program with them where they've been given the town a payment in lieu of taxes. So this is actually the first time that the town is going to appraise this property.
Huh, okay.
So could the town still enter into a payment in lieu of taxes agreement even after we do this evaluation, Dave?
Yes. So we're always able and willing to do that if they are as well. Considering the COVID crisis and the end of this 20-year program, the power plant actually has made a comment that they would be willing to extend the agreement for at least a year if need be. But that aside, yeah, regardless of whether or not we do an appraisal, the town can always enter into a pilot program.
Okay.
I have my hand up too. Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Don.
No, I'm going to let John go first.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm glad that Dave mentioned that last part. The question that I have is how much money did we set aside for this appraisal, and would we be better off repurposing those funds in light of the budget crisis we face internally and extending the pilot program for another year, since the opposite party is willing to do so? And not to mention, I mean, this power plant's changed hands like 2 or 3 times over the last 2 or 3 years, so it may be worthwhile for us to just extend it for a year, repurpose the funds that we have in the budget for this RFP and for the appraisal services.
Right. So
if ultimately, if the let's say the appraisal comes back and the evaluation would indicate a significant increase in their tax, the tax rate on the power plant, I'm assuming that they would approach aggressively to the council and seek a pilot program. So.
Right. So the funding available for this is actually $30,000, I believe, but that had been part of the revaluation funding request last year that was approved. So those funds are actually in the restricted revaluation account.
Okay.
My question was, what is the benefit of having them evaluated as to extending what's going on now? What is the monetary benefit?
Well, the issue is this property is obviously quite unique, and it's an asset that the town, again, has never appraised. So we don't truly know what the value of this asset is. So without that number, if we were to move forward and try to, either extend or renew some type of pilot agreement, I don't think the town would be in a very good position of bargaining or having a discussion with them without truly knowing the value of this property.
That was my concern. With an extension, we could actually be losing money because we really don't know what the value of the property is. I would rather have it evaluated like everybody else has to do, and get the full rate, and then get into talks with them if that's what the council wants to do.
And I know Mike has his hand up, I think. But one of the issues, again, it was a informal discussion that I had with the tax director of a power plant, and he would be, open to the idea of extending the pilot agreement, but obviously he would have to present that to his board of directors and such.
Go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Council. Go ahead, Council. Good.
Well, I just have to wonder why they're more in tune with extending what they have right now. That's okay, but the thing is I don't know what it's really worth, and it could be a loss. It could be a loss for the town without really knowing that it's a loss for the town. I feel really uncomfortable without knowing what it's worth.
Council President.
Yes.
So this is not, so as you know, the town usually goes through an appraisal every 3, 6, 9 years, and 2 of those years is statistical. When a town is a home to a very unique asset, like a power plant or a hospital or a reservoir, like a purification plant like we have in Situate, it's very common for us to, cities and towns, to go out and hire an appraiser who specializes in those type of industrial facilities, so that the town has the best information available to it when they decide whether or not to enter into a tax treaty or to actually just evaluate it based upon its true value. So this is something that a normal house or business appraiser doesn't usually do as part of doing an evaluation of the town when you have a unique property like this. So I think Dave's on the right track, and I would recommend that the more information that we have, the better off. And we can, once we get the value of the asset, we can figure out what a potential tax treaty looks like. I will say this, because it is so unique, and I don't know how much of your tax dollars come in from this plant, but generally, to avoid an appeal of their valuation around a 3, 6, or 9 year basis, it's to everyone's best interest to try to enter into a tax treaty, so you're not disputing the value every year. So everyone can kind of agree, because they do have a right to appeal every year. And you don't want that to be tied up in litigation for many, many years before we can get a resolution.
Counselor Edwards?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to grant authorization to the tax assessor to seek an RFP for the appraisal of Tiverton Power Incorporated located at 304 Progress Road.
I'll
Second.
second that.
There's a second. Is there any other discussion? In that case, Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes,
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So we shall have an RFP. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Great.
Uh,
Thank
ne-
you, everyone.
Next up is the town planner, Jennifer Siciliano, an update on compliance of zoning ordinances with comprehensive community plan, which is a request that I put on the agenda. And I think, is Jennifer with us?
She is-
Yes, I am.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hello. Yeah, so we've been working on reviewing and refining the zoning ordinance. One of the first things that we need to do on the priority list was the solar ordinance. So we'll have to either do a workshop or a public hearing. The third thing is the form-based code, which I'm finding a attorney that can review it. I have somebody in mind, but they haven't agreed, so I don't want to say yet who they are, but hopefully we'll bring that person on. And then the third priority item was getting the inconsistencies consistent with the comp plan. So that would involve changing the zone of 14 parcels in the town to open space from various residential properties. They are mostly owned by either the town or the state or other public entities, but that would, we need to do a public hearing for that. So I don't know what the town council wants to do. The first priority was the solar. So we could either do a workshop or a public hearing, depending on how you feel about that.
I tend to think, given where we've been on the solar before, my opinion is it would be good to do a workshop with the council before we have a public hearing. So we're really comfortable that we've got this right this time. As you may know, Jennifer, and this predates your arrival with us, we adopted a solar ordinance only to find out that it was rife with the law of unintended consequences and quickly had to repeal it. So I think a workshop, in my opinion, would be the best place to go. I don't know if the rest of the council feels the same, but I think that would be a good start. So as soon as that's ready and we can schedule that, I think it would be great.
I agree.
I do have one comment on the priority, and this is part of the reason that I put this on here. And I'll be honest, I know the form-based code is kind of problematic, but frankly, I don't think it's as big a problem as some of the other things. I do know that we have to update we have to update the zoning map, but as you said, those are all really parcels that have been now committed to open space somehow. So I don't think it's going to be very contentious to do that. What I would like to bring up, though, and sort of point out to the council and talk with you a little bit about this is, and especially with the rail line coming into Fall River in the very, very not too distant future. So you will have commuter rail service to Boston. And, there are a number of key things in the comprehensive plan, one of which is trying to balance, commercial development versus residential. And we have a relatively small amount of land that's suitable for commercial development, especially when you consider that a lot of that needs public sewer and public water, and we just don't have that much of it. Yet we have a staggering amount of land that's still available for residential development. And, just as a quick reminder, and these are only single family houses, and again, these are estimates based on lots that aren't developed. In other words, not lots that have something on them already that could be further subdivided, just vacant lots. 261 single family houses in the R30 district, 462 in the R40, 601 in R60, 1,862 in the R80. And again, that's really on the low side. That's just the vacant stuff, not stuff that's, could be further subdivided. And there is an objective or a goal or a to-do in the community comprehensive plan to take a hard look at our zoning densities and determine whether or not, some of those densities need to be increased, because, we could be looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of new housing units. If we don't start planning now, and now is the time to do it. So, to my mind, that's one of, I think, the biggest priorities in the comprehensive plan is to really look at that, in part because, we are trying to balance commercial and residential development, and there's just so much residential land out there that is developable. And, an enormous amount of that land is not served by public sewer and public water. It's septic systems and, well water. And we don't have an aquifer. We don't have very good soil for septic systems. And, there's a limited amount of water in the ground. And I know right now in South Tiverton, any number of families who are, very much conserving water because we're in the middle of a drought and their wells aren't recharging properly, or their wells are recharging really, really slowly. So, in addition to the financial issues with getting out of balance between commercial and residential, there are the, actual issues of not developing beyond the land's capacity to provide potable water in places where there's no intention of ever bringing public water. So I don't know how the council feels about that. But to my mind, that's a priority in the comprehensive plan.
I have
Oh.
something I'd like to say.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so Donna, go ahead.
One of the things that we don't seem to talk about when it comes to residential is the cost to the town. As I understand it, for every dollar you get for residential is costing you $1.56. I'm just putting it out there. Commercial is like 27 cents, and there is a cost. It costs more. You're really not. It's not working out. It's costing you more for residential than it is for commercial, and I can't remember what the other, farming. So I think you really need to have to think about that, because it doesn't seem to be ever discussed, but you really need to think about going forward, that with all the services that residences need, it's actually costing you more. So I think that has to be part of the discussion somewhere along the line as to what it's really costing for development.
Councilor Driggs?
I'm just speaking for myself, but I'm not totally fluent in all of this, and without any kind of sort of backup understanding, this wasn't on the agenda. It wasn't part of the backup stuff that Jennifer had submitted that I read through and tried to get a handle on. And I guess I would suggest that if this is something that needs to be added as a priority, it be scheduled and some material given to support or give some background of what you're talking about.
Which would mean a workshop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for a workshop. I think it's a good idea. The only thing, may I speak? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Donna.
The only thing I don't see on here is the digging. What the heck are they called?
Oh, the gravel. The gravel.
Yeah, the gravel and all of those.
The quarries.
The quarries. That's like a big problem. I don't see it on here. I mean, it really needs to be the highest priority, I think. But that's just me, and it's not on here, and I probably shouldn't talk about it, but.
Well, I'm wondering, obviously, Jennifer's got some stuff that she's working on that is important, but I do wonder whether or not it would be worth having maybe a workshop, because, the number of to-dos in the comprehensive plan are pretty substantial, and nobody's going to get those done in a short period of time. There's just a lot of work to do, but it might be good for the council to have some direction as to which of those items we see as a priority. And I'm just using the issue of the potential for residential development, especially with the commuter train coming to Fall River, as something that I, as one individual counselor, think should be considered as a priority. So maybe we should ask the council, to take a peek at the comp plan and what the council might see as a priority, and have a discussion with Jennifer about that. Jennifer, how do you feel about that idea?
That sounds good. To mention what you were talking about, the decrease in density in the watershed overlay areas, that the planning board does want to bring up that topic to look at the zoning regarding around the watershed areas, which have problems at the not in the September meeting, but probably the October meeting. So they do know that that's something that needs to be worked on. So, but if you'd like a workshop, that would be good.
I think it would be a good idea.
May I say something?
Yes, Donna.
I think what we need, I'm going to speak for myself, but I'm just going to make this suggestion. To move along, you have to have constant workshops, meetings, and keep putting things on the agenda, and then having hearings, because unless you do, all of a sudden it's 3 years and you never got to this, that, and the other thing. It has to be a regular planned situation where you have 10 things you want to do, and you start really hitting at them. Workshop, hearings. You have to do it, because other than that, 10 years from now, you're still not doing queries, or you just have to put it in the plans, and it has to be on the agenda as soon as possible so that you can move these things along. Otherwise, it just doesn't get done. I don't know whether you need a counselor to be take care of that for the council and follow it and help put it on there, and we have the workshops. I don't know, but it really needs to be done in some way that's a planned way.
Well, I think maybe to start with a joint workshop with the planning board with Jennifer might be a good idea, to sort of sort out, what the priorities are, and then obviously Jennifer, would be critical in keeping the council updated as to progress. John?
Thank you, Madam President. So, if I'm hearing everybody correctly, it sounds like what we really need to do is schedule a workshop, go through some of these items, help give some guidance, and then produce a work product for the next council to, pick up and run with, given our proximity to the next election, and the fact that there's, there could be none of us here for the next council. I think it'd be good for us to at least lay the groundwork for whomever comes next.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I'd be in favor of doing something like that.
Yeah, and I do think a joint workshop with the planning board would be good, so that we're all sort of on the same page. Chris?
I was just going to ask, between you and Jennifer, do you think it will be appropriate if the both of you work together towards creating an agenda for that particular meeting?
I'm happy to do that if it's okay with Jennifer.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so why don't we talk to Madam Clerk about, trying to get a date and get a joint workshop with the planning board, and see if we can't, at least look at some of the things in the comp plan and say, we all agree that these are the top 3 or 4 things, for right now.
Sounds good.
Okay. Jennifer, thank you for coming in for the update tonight.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Item F, Counselor Cook, authorization to advertise for a public hearing for a proposed amendment to the Tiverton Code of Ordinance to add section 1039, care of dogs.
Okay, Michael has helped me with this, and the first thing we decided to do, because there's many problems, was to start with dogs, and that was a good idea, Michael, thank you. And we also, and I had let Michael know that I did want people to be able to look at also, the state has different priorities too, but I think it needed to be also in our code, because you can't be looking at two different books or just seeing a number and think someone's going to look it up. I think it makes it easier for the animal control officer also, for everyone. So anyway, we decided to start with the care of dogs. It's
About
important.
goats.
Yeah, so we decided to do that. I think it's very good. The only thing that I found a problem with was if you look on the back, it'll say E. It's the 4 and then E under it, and it's incorrect. There's no section 325. It would be, as I understand it, section 1 to 7, which is in our code of ordinances. So I think this should be passed. I think it's a good start. There's other things I'm working on, but I think this is a good start. And like to hear from you if you have any thoughts.
Well, you're asking for a public hearing, correct?
Yes, I would like, but I also want to get some consensus from the town council, as they feel that this is good and a way to go, and also for the public hearing. Yes.
Counselor Edwards?
I don't want to steal Counselor Cook's thunder, but I'd be in favor of going to a public hearing, and I'm more than happy to come prepared with comments when we do so.
Okay.
Okay. So in that case, does anyone else have a comment, or do I have a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing?
I so move.
Second.
Is there a second? There's a second. So Counselor Driggs,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yep.
and I'm a yes. So Nancy,
Michael wants to say something here.
oh, Mike,
Thank you. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, before you post this, it does need to be a change in section E. We need to change 3-25 to section 1-7. I can give you that change before you post the actual public hearing. And as you know, the public hearing has to be 3 weeks out, so.
Thanks, Mike.
More than likely, it'll be the October date.
on to section 8, Town Solicitor Superior Court Case NC 2020-0214, Justin Katz versus the Town of Tiverton, and Nancy Mello in her official capacity as the town clerk.
Thank you. So I was notified of a lawsuit that has been filed by the plaintiff, Mr. Katz, against the town. This relates to an appeal of the AG's decision regarding the release of the executive session minutes. That was a subject of an APRA request a couple months ago, where the AG ruled that we did not have to turn over those executive session minutes because they had the policy that the council had adopted had been repealed. Mr. Katz, which is his right, has filed a lawsuit in Superior Court challenging that decision. He has not yet served anybody in the case, including Ms. Mello. Ms. Mello, I'm assuming Ms. Mello is to keep her records. That's why she's named that's why she's named as the town clerk in her official capacity. I did email Mr. Katz and let him know that I was aware of the lawsuit, but I am not officially have to answer the lawsuit until he actually serves the town and Ms. Mello. He has not yet done so. He has 120 days from the filing of the lawsuit to do so. I don't know what his intentions are. I'd like to try to get this moving if I could. So normally in this situation, I would ask that the town and Ms. Mello give me permission to accept service on the town and Ms. Mello's behalf, so that we can get the process moving Again, he doesn't have to serve me, but generally we save the fee and we save the cost of the service in case he were to win if I accept service. So, but I leave that up to the council as my client, whether or not you want to accept service or do you want him to go through the cost and expense of serving Ms. Mello and the town through a sheriff.
So is that a motion that we appoint you to have you accept service? Is that-
I don't have the authority to make motions. I'm just giving you the background of where we are in the case.
John?
Yep, for
Can I
me.
ask- can I ask a question of the solicitor on that?
Sure.
Just so we're clear, if we authorize the solicitor to accept service, it will be saving
Just-
money for the person who is suing us. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, but at the end of the lawsuit, if the plaintiff were to prevail, he can get costs of the suit, and one of the costs of the suit is the cost of service. So if there's no cost of service, and assuming that he wins, which I don't think I'm not going to comment on the merits of the case right now, but let's just worst case scenario that the plaintiff prevails in the case, he would be able to move for costs, and one of the costs would be the cost of the service. But I'm just giving you the options. It's sometimes done, sometimes not done.
Is it more convenient for you in terms of timing in getting this resolved?
The only thing that's more convenient for me is that when I'm accept service, I know exactly when the service is given upon me. Then I have 20 days from that date to file an answer.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes it more convenient. Otherwise, Nancy would have to call me, oh, I was served today, or the treasurer would have to call me, oh, I got served today, and then I would stop the clock. That's all. It's just more of a, when I have the paper in my hand, I feel a lot more secure. Again, I'm just giving you the background of how lawsuits are started and the process of which to be served.
Councilor Diemdiers?
Muted, Denise.
You're muted.
Shouldn't have thrown the sign out.
Couldn't Nancy and the treasurer just fax you that piece of paper? I mean, I think they're reliable enough that when they get served, they'll send it right to you.
Again, it's just up to you. It doesn't matter.
John?
So I am not inclined to allow our solicitor to accept service just based on the track record of this particular plaintiff. I think that with the volume of lawsuits that he's filed against the town and the track record in those lawsuits, if he's hell-bent on filing a lawsuit against us, let him pay for it.
I agree.
That seems spiteful.
You know what, Councilor Driggs, we're under Robert's rules. You're not to
Sorry.
question another member's motives. So I'd ask, please, again, that we abide by Robert's rules and not, provide commentary on other councilors' comments. Yes, Councilor Driggs.
As an attorney, I do not think what Attorney Marcello is looking for is unusual or in the least bit weird, and I would honor his request.
Are you making a motion or are you making a
I
comment?
don't know where we are in this thing. Sorry, I'm sorry, my phone is going. Hold on. Okay.
It's really not on the
Point we're at
agenda.
to make a motion?
It's really not on the agenda I've looked at the agenda. It's just really a notification. We can talk, we can put this back on the agenda if it's not served within the next 30 days.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there then. Town Administrator, Department of Revenue approval of the tax rate.
So when the budget committee had finished their deliberations and passed forward the budget to the town clerk, it was incumbent upon council president yourself to notify the Department of Revenue of our proposed tax rate increase in the tax levy increase. So that has been submitted and it has been accepted by the Department of Revenue, Steve Coleman's office. So we are good to go to move forward and advertise, which the advertisement has already taken place. So it's just our ministerial duty. So I
Excellent.
just noted that before you as well.
Thank you. And then you also have an update for us on the fire chief application process.
So the application, the ad went out, the applications came in. We met the Jim Camara from the personnel board along with Fred Almeida, met with Chief DeMello from Bristol and Chief Petron from Little Compton to discuss the candidates that we did. We received 8 candidates, barring the ones that we got from Zimbabwe and India and wherever else that we weren't going to fly over here to interview for the job. So, because when it goes on the internet, you get all kinds. And they helped us go through the resumes themselves. We did not interview anybody. We just went through the packets of materials, and they recommended that we went with 5 individuals that we should bring before the personnel board, which will be taking place this Thursday, I believe. And hopefully I have a recommendation for you for the next council meeting.
Excellent.
You're muted, Denise.
Chris, I think this is an appropriate question. Was there any internal candidates?
Yes, there were one internal candidate who's with the department now, and there's one who recently retired. And they will both be getting interviews.
That's my question. They will both be interviewed?
Yes, they will.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, you have an update for us on the FTR schedule?
I do. Well, I'm going to update on all 3 elections. So I'd like to really start with the primary because that's the one we're in right now.
Okay.
So we are actually in the period of emergency voting. The town hall has been open for voting purposes. We have 2 clerks sitting there, and it's open. It's open currently, and it'll stay open till 4 o'clock on election day, Tuesday, September 8th. That's for emergency voting, that anybody wants to come in and say, I may not make it, and then they can actually get a ballot and put it into the DS-200 and know that it's secured in there. Now, that election is a primary for districts 3306 and 3307, Representative District 71 only, Democratic. It is Mr. John Edwards and Michelle McCaw. So that is going on currently. We've received we've received about 200 and some mail ballots. They're still coming. The deadline for that was last Thursday. We're still entering into the process here, but that's on the primary election. Then the second one we'll be on September 26th. That's the FTR. Now, mail ballot applications are available for that. You'd have to call the town clerk's office to have one sent, or it is on the website. You can download it from there. In that case, we are in the time period for any petitioner's alternate budget to be, or resolution to be presented. That will end, that period ends next Saturday. I will be at the town hall till 2 o'clock in case anybody brings it in. You would have to come into the town hall for me to prepare the petition for you with your own numbers. And then you would have to get 50 signatures for it, bring it back before next Saturday. In that case, because this isn't a Title 17 state election, we bear all the cost of this. So as we've done in past years, we have absentee voting 2 days before the actual FTR on the Saturday. This year, we've increased it to 3 days. Just because we think more people might be inclined to come in to vote absentee as opposed to mail-in ballots, because we're going to bear the cost of everything there. So that will happen on Wednesday, September 23rd, Thursday, September 24th, and Friday, September 25th. Same hours as election time, 7 in the morning, 8 at night. And then the actual FTR will take place at the high school on September 26th, voting from 7 in the morning to late at night. I really haven't gotten too far into how we're going to handle this hearing. They have to be virtual. So we're just trying to work those arrangements out. But that is for September 10th. So I'm still just in the midst of getting all this together. I have noticed the state though, so that they can make sure we have the equipment necessary. And then the last one is the general election on Tuesday, November 3rd. The deadline to register to vote in that election is Sunday, October 4th. The mail ballots have already been available. We've already got several hundred in. You can, by the way, drop off your mail ballot applications right in the lockbox outside the town hall, or you can just knock on the clerk's door, the very first door, not the main door, and we just will open it and take your application for you. If you have problems with it, just call the clerk's office. They're really handling, I will say the staff is handling the phone calls as quickly and as they can, and very informative in the information. And the deadline to submit any mail ballot application for the November election is October 13th on a Tuesday. The emergency voting starts October 14th on a Wednesday. All these dates are put up on the website because it's 3 elections kind of all grouped together. Some people are getting confused with it, but you can just call the clerk's office. We're very good at explaining this, but everything is on the website. These dates, these important dates to meet.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay.
John Monson.
So I just have a question, Nancy, for everybody listening at home. So you used the term emergency voting a couple times with regards to the primary and also for the general, but I believe that the term emergency is only being used because this is essentially early voting, where Rhode Island would typically not have early voting available, but it is an actual ballot. It actually goes in the machine. It's not, there's no qualifications around being able to get the ballot. You can go in tomorrow and pick up a ballot for the primary and vote if you so chose to.
Yes, and vote right then and there and put it in the DS200 is actually the voting machine you put your ballots in. So everything in there accounted for, live to the state, everything's handled. Yes, the state is the one that uses emergency, the wording of emergency, but yes. In our FTR, we don't.
But you don't actually have to have an emergency to do it.
No, there are actually 4 options on there, and one is I may not make it to the election.
Right.
So far, no one who's come in or anybody that's sending in the ballots has a problem marking whatever category they are in. There has been some talk that mail ballots may go out to all, but it's not confirmed yet.
It will not happen for the primary. It's too late for that.
Will not happen for primaries, too late for that. But there are communities, some of the cities that having a tremendous problem. They're getting 10,000 mail ballot applications. So if we run into trouble, I have discussed the plan for this with Chris. If we run into trouble, we'll have to bring in some added poll workers to help us.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And that brings us now to our executive session. So do I have a motion to enter into executive session? John?
I wasn't sure if Madam Vice Chair was going to do it, but I'll make a motion to go into closed executive session, town solicitor litigation 42465A2, settlement provisions on tax appeal cases. 1, Westport Trust v. Tiverton, NC 2013-0090. 2, James Karam v. Tiverton, NC 2017-0119. 3 Tiverton Point LLC v. Tiverton NC 2017-0118.
There's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second it.
And
Okay.
continuing in closed executive session, town solicitor litigation 42465A2, unpaid legal invoices, attorney Jeannie M. Scott.
Second.
Second. And then I need a roll call vote. Counselor Driggs. I'm sorry, Counselor Driggs. You're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Do I need to take a second vote on the second item, Mike?
No,
Second. Okay.
Thank you. Counselor Driggs,
Yep.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor DiMederos,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and I'm a yes. Solicitor Marcella, would you like to make an announcement about executive session?
yes. So in executive session, the town council took a vote to authorize the town administrator to execute and take all necessary steps to finalize the settlements of the 3 cases that are listed on the agenda. The vote was unanimous. Once those releases are executed and a dismissal stipulation is filed, the releases will become public records. Unrelated to the matter of litigation regarding Ms. Jeannie Scott, at this time, we're not going to disclose the action that was taken so as to preserve our strategy, litigation strategy as we go forward. So then that's all that happened in executive session. No other votes were taken, and that concludes my report.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, and I have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that a yes from Donna?
Yep.
Nancy, yes.